Hello, hi, welcome to another raid build video. I'm going to give you 5 different counters for 7-star Pikachu. Now, Pikachu can end up being the easiest 7-star raid we have, or if people don't know how this works, it can end up being the hardest because, as you guys have probably figured out, one person can cost an entire raid. And so if that one person doesn't have great counters or doesn't understand what is happening completely, they can make the raid incredibly hard. So I'm going to give you guys 5 different counters here. Before we begin, some questions probably that you guys have. What ability is Pikachu going to know? I'm 99% sure, just based on theming and based on the last raids, that Pikachu will have the hidden ability of Lightning Rod. Charizard, Cinderace, and Greninja all had hidden ability. It's very likely that Pikachu will have its hidden ability. Pikachu has 2 abilities, Static and Lightning Rod. But Lightning Rod pairs perfectly with the Water Terra type. And this is why I think the raid might fail for a lot of people. I've already seen a lot of people very excited to bring their Miraidon or their Iron Hands to this raid to use those strong electric type attacks. Here's the huge disclosure before we get into the raid counters. Miraidon is probably one of the worst picks because not only does Pikachu's Lightning Rod absorb and take no damage from electric type moves, it also will boost Pikachu's attack stats. And Miraidon sets electric terrain, which will also boost Pikachu's electric attacks as well. If somebody brings a Miraidon, it will probably end up doing more damage than Pikachu itself because it will put Pikachu in an incredible position to knock out your entire team. So that's why I said that Pikachu might not be the easiest raid ever because Miraidon pretty much sets your entire team up for failure unless you're doing something really specific. But I'm assuming most random people bringing Miraidon have no clue what Lightning Rod does, hence why they're bringing Miraidon. The other thing is like, oh, why don't you skill swap and remove Lightning Rod? 2 things with that. Number 1, if they're bringing Miraidon, they have to let them learn the hard way. Let them learn the hard way and let them fail the raid so they understand abilities. Number 2, don't be foolish enough to join the Miraidon and try to cover for their weaknesses. Just, there are better Pokemon here. I got a list of Pokemon. These Miraidon, these Iron Hand people are never going to learn if you're just going to build a skill swapper to try to help. Just don't join those raids. Just don't lock in. So if there's one takeaway from this entire video, is do not lock into a raid with randoms if those randoms are picking Miraidon or Iron Hands, because it is very, very likely that Pikachu will have Lightning Rod. Okay, so moving on to the second point here is I'm actually banking that Pikachu will be holding a held item, specifically the Light Ball. Now, I know what you're thinking. There has been no raid Pokemon up to this point that has ever held a held item, but obviously a Pokemon can hold a held item. It's just that slot is empty. You can go into a raid without having a held item, or you can go into a raid, obviously, hopefully holding a held item, because those are very, very beneficial. There are like 17 million held items in Pokemon games, but the Light Ball is a held item that only works on Pikachu. Doesn't work on Raichu, doesn't work on Pichu, doesn't work on Alolan Raichu. It only works on Pikachu. And if it's held by a Pikachu, it doubles its attack stat and its special attack stat. So it doubles both. This also pairs really well with the Lightning Rod ability. And I think that it is very possible for it to have this item because there has been also tons of distributions where Pikachu's held item, when it's distributed to you through Mystery Gift, is usually a Light Ball. So you have a signature held item with a Pokemon that can take use of it in raids. Obviously, the 7-star raids are supposed to be difficult. So all of my builds have calculated in the fact that Pikachu is holding a Light Ball. Now, if the 7-star raid Pikachu comes out and it's not holding a Light Ball, this is going to be incredibly easy because I calculated for it to have double attack and double special attack. And I think it would be shocking for me not to calculate that kind of stuff and be like, oh, I didn't know it was going to be double. I always calculate for the worst case scenario. And so if the worst case scenario is it has double attack and double special attack, then we have great counters. And if it doesn't have the Light Ball, then this raid ends up being easier. Pikachu is also probably going to be a mixed attacker. And the reason I say that is just the variety of moves here. So we went through all the status moves it can have: Charm, Nasty Plot, Thunder Wave, Double Team, Agility, Light Screen, Reflect, Charge, Tickle, Rain Dance, Fake Tears, Eerie Impulse, Encore, Electric Terrain. There's a bunch. And then on the special side, again, I just picked the strongest type move. So you could do Thunder Shock, Thunderbolt, or Thunder. I'm just going to do Thunder because it covers it all, right? Thunder is a stronger Thunderbolt. And so I'm always going to calculate the highest amount of damage. If you can survive 3 Thunders, you can obviously survive 3 Thunderbolts, right? That's the logic there. So on the special side of things, we have Thunder, Grass Knot, Surf, Terra Blast, and Electro Ball. And then on the physical side of things, our strongest moves are going to be Body Slam, Play Rough, Brick Break, Volt Tackle, Iron Tail, and I guess technically Terra Blast as well, which would end up being Water, because Terra Blast will pick the highest stat, and Pikachu's physical stat is a little bit higher. And so with that being said, we can narrow down that the 5 Pokemon I picked are all Grass-type Pokemon. Grass is super effective to Water. I know, shocking, super surprising. But Grass also resists both electric and water type moves. So going back to the skill swap conversation earlier, sure, you could bring an electric type Pokemon, skill swap off the lightning rod, but electric Pokemon don't have the same resistances that grass type Pokemon do. So instead of making more work for ourselves, let's just take advantage of grass type Pokemon. Now, another thing I know you're thinking is, what if Pikachu has Fly? I think that's pretty unlikely. For a couple reasons. Number one is they already gave us a flying Pikachu, and I think this is really focused on a quote-unquote surfing Pikachu. Number two is, if I looked at every 5-star raid boss and every 6-star raid boss, and none of those raid bosses knew Fly, Dive, or Dig. And I think the reason they don't know that is because, one, it would waste too much time in a raid. Well, I guess 2 goes with 1. Not only would it waste a bunch of time, I don't think it's a particularly fun mechanic. And it's also a really easy mechanic to get around. So worst case scenario, let's say Pikachu has Fly. I guess just teach all your Pokemon Protect, because you could probably fit it in. And every time Pikachu flies up, you just Protect, and then you take no damage that next turn. Could be wrong there, but we already have a solution for that. I just Protect on your Pokemon, and when it flies, just Protect that turn, and you take no damage. So, all right. I think that got all the questions out of the way. Let's get into the first Pokemon here. First Pokemon is going to be Appletun. Appletun has an exclusive ability called Ripen. It's only available to the Appletun line. And what that ability does is that it doubles the effects of berries. So we're going to give Appletun a Citrus Berry. And now Citrus Berry replenishes 25% of your HP when your health falls below 50%. Ripen is going to double that to 50% of your HP. So this is really great, because Appletun's going to get 50% of its HP back for free once its health falls below half. On top of that, Appletun gets access to the move Recycle. You can recycle, get that berry back, same thing. If you play Appletun correctly, you should have infinite health, which is really great, because its ability, Recycle, and the Citrus Berry should all revolve around each other. Appletun has also a signature move called Apple Acid. So Apple Acid is like Acid Spray. If you've watched any of my raid build videos, you know that Acid Spray is my favorite absolute move to use in raid battles. Apple Acid is like Acid Spray, except it's grass. So Acid Spray is base 40 damage, and it's a poison type move, and it lowers the special defense by -2. Apple Acid is 80 damage, so it's twice as powerful, plus it gets the stab, the same type attack bonus from Appletun, so it's actually doing 120. It lowers the boss's special defense by 1. Still very, very good, because that will work through the raid shield. So after 3 Acid Sprays, not only are you lowering the Pikachu's special defense, or any raid boss's special defense, by 1 each turn, you'll be able to Terastallize. And then we have Sunny Day and Solar Beam. So Solar Beam is really endgame kind of stuff. Obviously, you want to use Solar Beam when Sunny Day is up. But once the Pikachu is -6, Solar Beam is going to do more damage, 80 base damage plus stab. Solar Beam is 120 base damage plus stab. So obviously, Solar Beam is going to do more. This pairs well with a Acid Sprayer, right? You could do Apple Acid twice. The Acid Sprayer can do Acid Spray twice. Pikachu's down to -6. Perfect. Done. Ready to go. And as always, all of these Pokemon are special attackers, because the special attackers take advantage of Acid Spray and of Apple Acid. Oh, that's a mouthful. Apple Acid and Acid Spray. So I'm leaning very much into special attackers. So you're going to see that theme throughout. Now, the one thing that can throw a wrench into Appletun is if Pikachu knows Play Rough. That's why we did put a little bit of defense EVs into that. So not only does Appletun survive multiple Play Roughs, but paired with the combination of the Citrus Berry, that shouldn't be an issue. Not only will you be able to remove the Dragon type from Appletun by Terastallizing, with the combination of Recycle and the Citrus Berry, and if you have anyone that could set Reflect or that could use the move Strength Sap, the Play Rough is nothing to worry about. But that is the one possible move that could really hurt Appletun here. But again, that's all prepped for with the max HP, the 60 defense, and the combination of Citrus Berry and Recycle. Speaking of Reflect and Light Screen, our second Pokemon is Toedscruel. I always like to have a Pokemon that can both do Reflect and Light Screen. Here's also our Acid Sprayer. Toedscruel is great because it has a crazy high special defense, and it cannot be hit by electric type moves. It is neutral to water, but because its special defense is so high, we won't have to worry about the damage that comes from Surf. Now, Toedscruel only has one ability, and it's actually not really great. Appletun's ability is really cool, so it kind of sucks coming from a cool ability like Appletun into Toedscruel's ability that's not really great at all. But that's okay, because Toedscruel is one of the few Pokemon that can learn Light Screen, Reflect, and Acid Spray. So it's a great supporter. So depending on Pikachu's final moveset, you're either going to Reflect first, or you're going to Light Screen first. But you're going to set both of those up, and with the Light Clay held item, those are going to last 8 turns. After you set those up, you're going to go ahead and Acid Spray until Pikachu's down to -6, and then you're going to switch to Giga Drain. So this is actually a pretty straightforward Pokemon. Again, you're just going to lead with screens. You're going to Acid Spray. You're going to Giga Drain. Once Pikachu resets stats, just rinse and repeat for Acid Spray until it's down to -6, and then Giga Drain again. When Pikachu resets stats, or when any raid boss resets stats, they don't actually remove Light Screen and Reflect. That's why Light Screen and Reflect are so good in raids. They cannot be removed by the raid boss. Now, it is possible that Pikachu knows Brick Break. I think that's pretty unlikely. We did calculate it in. Brick Break does break the effects of screens. You can just reset at that point and reset up the screens once again. But I do think that Brick Break is pretty unlikely. Speaking of likely moves, though, I told you how to open up with Toedscruel's Reflect and Light Screen and then move over to Acid Spray. I want to move over to what Pikachu might open up with. I did list a bunch of moves at the beginning of this video, but because of the theming of Pikachu, I think Pikachu is actually going to open up with Rain Dance. And the reason I think it's going to open up with Rain Dance is because, one, it's a Water Terra type, so Rain Dance would boost its Water type moves by 50%. And two, Pikachu is probably going to have access to Thunder. And while Thunder is 110 base damage and it's 70% accurate, once it's raining, Thunder is 100% accurate. So I think it's very likely Pikachu opens up with Rain Dance, and then possibly its secondary move would either be Nasty Plot, which is both good and bad. Nasty Plot would obviously increase its special type moves, but wouldn't increase things like Brick Break or Iron Tail or Volt Tackle, because those are physical. So I don't think Nasty Plot is as likely, but I could see it using something like Nuzzle or something like Thunder Wave. So I could easily see Pikachu opening up with Rain Dance and then paralyzing you. I think that's totally possible. I also think it could maybe Rain Dance and Agility for Electro Ball, but I think that's too many gimmicks on top of each other. I think just the Rain Dance to benefit the Surf and to benefit the Thunder is probably the main gimmick it's going to go with. As we've seen from other 7-star raid bosses, they always do two things. Charizard normally overheated and then reset stats, Cinderace bulked up and then attacked, and then Greninja Toxic Spikes and double teamed. So I think that Pikachu's going to open up with Rain Dance and then paralyze you. Which actually moves into our third Pokemon, Arboliva. I say this Pokemon's name wrong all the time. I'm super sorry. The Labor Day tree. Speaking of getting paralyzed, we have Safeguard here. And Safeguard will prevent against any status condition. Now, the main status condition that Pikachu could do is paralysis. So Safeguard will prevent your entire team from getting paralyzed for 5 turns. Obviously, you can use a Heal Cheer to remove the paralysis, but easier said than done just to Safeguard. This Pokemon's going to be another support Pokemon, and it can support the team in a couple ways. Number one, Safeguard. So you probably want to lead using Safeguard to prevent further paralysis. And then you have a couple options here. So Strength Sap is great. Not only does it give you health back, but it will reduce Pikachu's physical attack by -1. This is really great because I think it's very likely that Pikachu will have Iron Tail. I think out of all the physical moves it might know, I think it's very possible for it to know Volt Tackle and Iron Tail. Play Rough is definitely possible, and I don't really see it knowing Body Slam or Brick Break. But those are definitely strong type moves it could learn. But if I was to guess maybe the moveset for Pikachu, it would probably be Thunder, Surf, Volt Tackle, Play Rough, Iron Tail, and then like a Rain Dance / Thunder Wave or a Rain Dance / Nuzzle. Now our Olive Tree has the ability Seed Sower. Seed Sower will set grassy terrain anytime it's hit. So Grassy Terrain is great, and you're going to see this theme throughout this team. Grassy Terrain will boost all grass-type moves by 50% damage. So that makes Apple Acid stronger, that makes Solar Beam stronger, that makes Giga Drain stronger, makes all your grass-type moves stronger. And since Pikachu's Terra type is water, water is weak to grass. Grassy Terrain will normally last 5 turns. It is possible for Pikachu to have Electric Terrain. That would be annoying. And as I said earlier, if you see a Miraidon sets Electric Terrain, which would be bad because that would give Pikachu that electric boost for Thunder or for Volt Tackle. And we don't want that because that's a lot of damage coming towards us. So we do want Grassy Terrain to override any Electric Terrain. I don't love that Grassy Terrain heals every turn because we have to wait for the text to pop up and that wastes timer. But I do think the 50% damage boost for your entire team is worth the trade-off for the text that pops up. We're putting the big root onto the olive branch because both Strength Sap and Giga Drain benefit from big root. So we should have no problem keeping ourselves alive. And I think I already said Sunny Day is to remove the Rain Dance, but Sunny Day also to boost any Solar Beams, which can be fit pretty much on this entire team if you wanted to Solar Beam. Speaking of terrains, it's possible that your entire team maybe doesn't have the Olive Branch, but somebody could bring a legendary Pokemon Wo-Chien here. Now, the Treasures of Ruin can be a little bit tricky because their abilities affect everyone. So Wo-Chien's ability, Tablets of Ruin, decreases everyone's physical attack by 20%. I love Acid Spray and I love special attackers, so our entire team is special attackers. So that doesn't affect us, but it does affect Pikachu. So going back to Pikachu's physical moves, which could possibly be Volt Tackle, Brick Break, Play Rough, Iron Tail, it reduces all of those by 20%. So that helps out your entire team right off the bat. We're giving Wo-Chien the Terrain Extender so it can set Grassy Terrain. Again, when I build these teams, I want people to be able to mix and match them, right? And so if you don't have an olive branch on your tree, on your olive branch tree Pokemon on your team, you have another way of setting Grassy Terrain. Instead of 5 turns, the Terrain Extender will set it to 8 turns. Wo-Chien also has Snarl. So Snarl decreases the special attack by 1 stage. How I would play Wo-Chien is I would probably start off with a Snarl and then move on to Grassy Terrain and then use Energy Ball. Pollen Puff is there to heal your team in another way that isn't heal cheering. And of course, if you want to mix it up, Sunny Day and Solar Beam are also great options that you can fit onto the team. I like to include 6 moves so you guys can customize these Pokemon instead of just like buy the book, build them. So all of these Pokemon's EVs really lean into staying alive as long as possible. I said this in my last raid video and I will say it again. You're not failing raids because you're not doing enough damage, at least in a multiplayer setting. Maybe in a solo setting that's true, where your Pokemon's just not doing enough damage. But in a multiplayer setting, the reason you're failing raids is because you and or your teammates are fainting. And every time you faint, that takes a huge chunk of the raid timer off. I do lean into my Pokemon builds to be a little bit more bulky, because if you're staying alive, it's going to be fine. I don't think I've ever failed a raid where we were alive the entire time and we just didn't do enough damage. I think every raid I have failed is because somebody or multiple people have died 3 to 4 times, and that was enough to just destroy the raid timer. That's why you will see a lot of HP investment, and in this case, you'll see 54 into defense. And last but not least, biggest damage dealer here, and maybe the hardest one to use, I guess. So Lurantis is really cool. It has the ability Contrary. What Contrary does is stat changes are opposite. So if Lurantis uses a move like Swords Dance usually increases your physical attack to +2. But with this ability, Swords Dance will actually decrease your physical attack -2. So everything is opposite. It's like that episode of SpongeBob where everything is opposite day. Now, this plays really, really well into a move called Leaf Storm. Leaf Storm is stronger than Solar Beam. Solar Beam is base 120. Leaf Storm is base 130. And every time you use Leaf Storm, it decreases your special attack stat by -2. Now, I know what you're thinking. Lurantis is a physical attacker. It's true, its physical attack is higher than its special attack. But Leaf Storm pairs perfectly with this ability. So instead of getting -2 every time you use Leaf Storm, you're getting +2. So you're getting almost a free Nasty Plot every time you're doing a 130 base attack move. It's incredible. It's really great. Now there's another Pokemon that people are suggesting, which is Rotom Mow. And Rotom Mow's only grass attack is Leaf Storm. But in order for Rotom Mow to use Leaf Storm, it would have to use it and then Nasty Plot to get it back, and then use it and then Nasty Plot. We pretty much have the Nasty Plot built into this move because of our ability Contrary. The most important thing here is to make sure you PP max your Leaf Storm. You should PP max any move that is 5 PP anyways, because Leaf Storm is 5 PP. So it brings it to 8. But we also have Sunny Day. Again, that's to remove rain. And we have Synthesis. In the sun, Synthesis is going to give you more HP back. Obviously important for Lurantis to stay alive. And then we have Grassy Terrain as well. Always have flexible options. Maybe it's just you and a friend, and you have Lurantis and your friend has Appletun, and then the other two are randos. This is why we have kind of repeating moves like Sunny Day and Grassy Terrain, because these moves are very beneficial for the entire team. A +6 Leaf Storm and a -6 Special Defense Pikachu will do an insane amount of damage. It would be quote-unquote one-shot potential. Of course, in order for Leaf Storm to get more powerful, you have to use it, so we're not gonna... It might be a 2 or 3 shot, depending. But I taught you guys how the shield works in an earlier video. All of these Pokemon are actually going to terrestrialize grass, which again is really great because grass resists both electric and water. And paired with the Shell Bell item, every time you use Leaf Storm, you're going to get health back. So this should keep Lurantis alive. Because there's a lot of support Pokemon, I would actually probably lean into either Lurantis or Wo-Chien being the Pokemon that defense cheer on turn 1, because you probably want the Olive Branch to safeguard on turn 1. You probably want Toedscruel to light screen or reflect on turn 1. I think it's still important when you're playing with at least one NPC. The NPC will always defense cheer. But I still think it's very important to always defense cheer on turn. Somebody should always defense cheer on turn 1. Now remember, in multiplayer stuff, defense cheers don't stack. Also keep in mind, if you're using multiple Wo-Chiens, multiple tablets of Ruin do not stack. Only one does. If we do have a lot of Sunny Day support, feel free to switch out moves for Solar Beam. But I think that covers all of the builds. Like I said, I think Pikachu might end up being very easy, especially if it's not holding that light ball. This is probably overkill. If Pikachu is holding the light ball, I think the amount of work going in is probably worth it. And if you wanted to use some new Pokemon, here are some new Pokemon. So if you have any questions or comments, or you think I missed something, feel free to comment below. If you've enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe. We're trying to get to 100,000 on YouTube. I think as of recording this, we're at like 82,000. So, and then finally, if you need Pikachu help, I will be streaming this weekend on Thursday night when Pikachu goes live, and then all day on Friday. We're going to be celebrating my 5-year anniversary on Twitch on Friday as well. But I probably won't be streaming Saturday and Sunday because it is the Hoenn Tour and Pokemon Go. So again, if you need Pikachu help, feel free to swing on by. I have no clue what kind of rewards Pikachu will have, but I like doing raids, and I like doing raids with people. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.